Hello, I'm Jake Clark. This is my project 2 for ELPS 853. This is my pre-conference with Mr. Jay Genseal. Hello, Mr. Genseal.
How you doing, Jake?
Doing well.
Thanks for letting me do this with you.
No problem. Thank you. Tell me what it is you teach here.
I teach 6 through 12 PE.
Okay, so you have high school and middle school.
Yes.
So how are things going so far in your classes this year?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is I have classes that are extremely big. 6th grade, I have almost 50. And then I have the entire middle school in 2 other classes, so 50 and 50. So I have big classes.
So that's a struggle. That causes problems.
Yes, for me it does, yes.
So I always thought teaching PE would be fun. Get to stay active, doing something different every day. So one of your concerns is class size. Okay.
PE is fun. You know, that's why I went into it. But it is a challenge with that many kids, and I don't know, the older I get, it seems maybe they don't listen to me quite as well as they did when I was younger.
Okay, and how long have you been a teacher?
Well, I've been a teacher about 30 years, pretty close to 30 years.
Okay. So, what are some highlights of your class? Things you're proud of your PE class?
This year?
Yeah.
Actually, this is going to sound kind of strange, but I started driving a school bus this year, and I enjoy the kids on the school bus because I've gotten to know them. There's not that many. As far as my class goes, some highlights, you know, around Christmas time, a kid will bring a card in thanking you. Had a young man who has Down syndrome who gave me something nice the other day because he likes me. Athletes, I enjoy talking to them about their sport and things like that.
So relationships with the kids?
Yes.
Okay. So other than class size, is there any other concerns you have with your classes?
Well, apathy in the class. Kids just don't want to do a whole lot. And then dressing. Sometimes I don't know if I'm a very good teacher anymore because I have a lot of people that don't want to dress and don't want to do things. And so, you know, sometimes I don't know if I'm doing the right things.
So how could administration or I help with that problem?
Well, first of all, it's great that somebody like you would even ask to help with the problem. Sometimes I'll go years without anybody asking what they could do. Class size, but there's a reason I have so many because they're trying to get a certain amount of classes in and things like so. Class size, adding a teacher to help me. I'm the only teacher in the gym. I have boys and girls, and sometimes with me being a male, I worry about what the girls will say and things like that.
Okay. So behavior is not a problem usually in your class?
Behavior is usually, if there's 100 kids, there's usually about 10 that are the ones that I have to keep track of and things like that.
So not a real issue, too much of an issue.
No.
Okay. So we already talked a little bit about the participation. That was one of your concerns. So when I come to observe your class, what do I see? What do I expect to see during a normal class period?
Would you be coming in during middle school or high school?
High school.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is, again, I hope you think I do an okay job because you're going to walk in and there's going to be some kids getting ready and there's going to be other kids sitting in the bleachers saying they don't want to do things, and I'm somehow trying to get the thing going in the right direction.
Okay, so then once the kids that are dressed that are participating, then there's some kind of game or activity.
Right. Right now, what I'm trying to do to keep people involved is I'm trying to do several different things instead of just one. Instead of just playing volleyball, I might have a Foursquare game, volleyball, basketball, cornhole, as funny as that seems, and walking. And still, you know, there should be something for them to do, but they kind of come up with excuses on, you know, they don't want to do it. I hope I don't sound too negative.
No, you don't. Just wanting to do the best you can. I don't know if
I
it's
do.
negative. It's just.
Yes.
So, what goals do you have for my visit, or goals for the school year and even beyond that?
Well, my goal would be if you come in and visit, even though I've been teaching for 30 years, I've noticed how you work with the kids, get along with the kids. You have good rapport with the kids, but you also have good discipline. So my goal would be maybe you can tell me some things that I can do to get more participation. I know you don't teach PE, but you do run a class. So, you know, maybe you, as a young teacher, can give me some things, and maybe I'll try them, maybe I won't. But that would be a goal for me.
Okay. So that's a way we could work together, just by talking and me giving suggestions or whatever else, and maybe you'll take them and maybe you won't. Just
Yeah,
depends on if it would work in your classroom.
Yeah, I'm open to the, you know, as you know, I've taught 30 years, but I want to be coached. I want to be better.
So are there any weaknesses that you think that you might have that you'd want me to pay attention to?
I think my biggest weakness is I probably start off, you know, right on that, you know, no cell phones, and then the longer it gets into the semester, maybe I get a little bit weaker towards that stuff, and then slippage. I need to, you know, to stand my ground during the whole semester, and then, you know, continue to try to plan for my class like I would be planning for a practice.
And that's something that the school has talked about, that rule, a lot. So I don't think it's just you. I think a lot of teachers have problems with that, because it's one of those ones where you want to pick your battles kind of thing. Is it that serious of a deal? Yeah. So
Well, sometimes I don't know what the school wants. If you have 60 kids in the class, I don't know how they can expect me to be running a great program. Maybe they don't want a great program. Maybe they just want to put those kids in there so they can free up the teachers to get their lesson plan in or something like that.
we'll look at it when I come by. Anything in particular when I visit that you want me to keep an eye on? Something that you really want me to watch in case there's something I could help you with?
I would just like ideas. If you can give me any ideas on participation, and then communicating with a kid that doesn't want to do something, how can I communicate with that kid in maybe getting him up and going?
All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just any ideas. I struggle sometimes getting my attendance in. You know, if there's something that you feel like you really do well in the classroom, maybe you can share it with me, and maybe I could somehow use it.
All right. Well, thanks. I'll be in to observe you tomorrow, and then we'll meet again after that.
Do you know what hour you'll be coming in?
Last hour of the day, so
Okay.
8th period.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Hello, this is the post-conference for Mr. Genseal for ELPS 853. Mr. Genseal, nice to see you again.
Good to see you, Mr. Clark. How are you today?
Doing well, how are you?
Good.
So I had the opportunity to visit your last hour PE class. Thanks for allowing me to observe that class.
Thank you for coming in.
While I was there, I noticed some students shooting baskets, others doing ping pong, cornhole, and a few walking around the gym. Is this pretty much a normal day?
That was a unit that we were into, several different things to try to get more people involved. But as you saw, probably there were still some people who were not taking part.
Do you ever have days in class where everyone participates in the same game?
Next week we're going to start another unit in mat ball, and I'll have everybody in the game. Some kids just do not like to play a game that is competitive, so they'll walk, and then there's still a few that.
So I know more participation was one of the goals that you had, but we'll get to those here in a little bit. How do you think class went yesterday overall?
I think it was all right. I think you coming in kind of perked them up, and I thought they did fine.
Okay. What do you think were some of the strengths of your lesson?
Some of the strengths of my lesson were there were some activities that they really like. The basketball, the ping pong, and the cornhole. They get into it, laugh, talk, communicate, and play those. I thought it went fine.
I agree with that. All right, let's move on to your goals. Talk about whether or not we improved upon them, or maybe we can come up with a plan to help moving forward. Your first goal is to increase participation in class. As you just mentioned, I noticed there's a few that still sit out. Do you think this has improved throughout the year, or do you think it's kind of the same, or it's gotten worse?
I'm going to be honest, I think it's gotten worse. Just from the beginning to now, it's gotten worse.
Okay. I believe there's a couple different things that maybe we can try. I know the large class size makes it difficult, tough to make sure 50 people are participating. I do know that our district has hired another PE teacher for next year, so hopefully that'll lessen the size of your classes, making it a little bit easier to manage. Also have a couple recommendations, just suggestions. You can use them if you'd like. If not, we can come up with a different plan together.
Sure.
Going along with lessening the class size, do you think a possible athletic waiver would work? And what I mean by that is, if you're participating in a sport, you do not have to take PE.
I would think that, you could probably do that. I would think the athletes and the coaches would want to be in fitness PE.
Which is a different class.
Which is a different class. Mine is games. I would think the coaches would want them in fitness PE instead of my class or not taking PE at all.
Right.
But I can understand a kid that's, really trying to study and be a good student, and could use an extra period to do something else because his load's so heavy.
And the fitness classes have many less students, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's maybe possible. Perhaps as a group, so talking administration and you, need to do a better job making clear the requirements for PE. Okay. I think this could we could do some changes in the handbook to make sure that it's clear that dressing for PE and participating in PE is part of passing the course.
Right.
Not that, hopefully that would help. I know some of them still may not do it. But I guess it could be possible that they don't know exactly.
I think some of the kids, in years past it's changed, and a graduation requirement where you have to pass, and then in other years you don't have to pass it, you just have to take it. So they realize that I don't have to pass this, I just need to be in here, which...
So that's something that we should probably look at.
Right.
Okay. Another thing that I could suggest, and I don't know if it's something you'd be open to, my first year I was able to go to a conference that focused on classroom management and engagement. Extremely helpful, a lot of tips, a lot of strategies. I know that you're almost done teaching, getting towards the end. I don't know if it's something that you'd be interested in, but that's just another possibility. Obviously it'd be counted as professional development, paid for by the district.
I think that would be great. Sometimes I don't hear about those things. I'm not on that computer a lot during the day, so, but yeah, that sounds great.
Others that I've talked to have suggested that we offer incentives for participation, but I kind of want to steer away from that, because I don't know that rewarding students for doing what they're supposed to be doing is necessarily the path we want to start down. Would you agree with that, or do you think some kind of incentive program would be?
My problem is, if I have a bunch, it's hard for me to keep track of grades, let alone a bunch of other things going on. But I've given away like Subway sandwiches before, and things like that, and they do like certain things. So if it was simple to keep track of, I would like it.
So out of these things that have been mentioned so far, do you see any roadblocks that we might be missing out on as far as professional development, possibly making sure they know what the guidelines are?
Well, the only thing is the schedule every year sometimes changes, and I just have, I have to see what I'm capable of doing with the classes that I have. In a perfect situation, I'd have 25, 30 kids, and all of them would be somewhat interested. I know, like the class you were in, kids that are failing PE are probably failing 4 other classes also. So, I don't.
And is that mainly because they don't participate and don't dress? Those are, those
Yeah,
have got to be the reasons.
That'd be the only reason. Even if they don't dress and would just be nice and do something, I usually pass them. But if they're a behavior problem, they don't dress and they don't do anything, I'm not going to pass them.
Okay, so maybe it is just hammering the requirements for PE and administration backing you up on that too.
Right.
Not just leaving it completely up to you.
It would be nice if I had a place to send them, because they love PE for the social part. So if I could take the kid and say, hey, you got to go to, a detention room and sit there and be quiet instead of in here interacting with your friends, I always thought that might help.
Okay. That's something that we can look into. Okay, for your second goal, you mentioned having better relationships with students.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that went well yesterday? Do you think, I know there's a couple in there that you seem to have good relationships with.
Yeah, it all depends, on the class. But one thing I have found, that the older you get, the less they identify with you. And so unless you had their parent and the parent knows you, and sometimes they just don't want to have a whole lot to do with an old teacher.
I thought you have a good rapport with the students. It seems like something that I've found is just to show them that you care. Even if you just say, hey, how was your weekend? What did you do this weekend?
I try to do some of that.
Did you have a nice break, whatever. Something along those lines, just show them that you're interested. Some of them still might not want to respond, but I think that works and it's pretty effective.
The only thing I did that a lot, especially with high school girls. Certain things like, I used to say, you look nice today. And anymore, you just can't say those things because they take it a different way. When I first started teaching, you could wink at a kid and that meant hello. Now if you wink at a kid, they don't know, and so they go to the principal. And
that's where having a female PE teacher would help also.
Right.
So your last goal or area that you wanted to improve on was remembering to do little things like submit attendance or lesson plans or whatever.
Right.
Did you have any ideas on how to remedy this before I share some with you?
Well, I always thought if I could have a couple really good students that I got along with that would remind me, that would help me remind me, that would help. But no,
That's exactly what I had written down.
Oh, is that right?
Early in the school year, you know who your trustworthy students are, and just have them that's their job every day to make Mr. Genseal make sure you put attendance in.
Right.
Hopefully, it becomes a routine and you don't need it anymore. But it is nice to have someone to remind you of that. The last thing I had, and we didn't mention this yesterday, but I know that this is something that you've been concerned about is the equipment that you have.
Right.
Do you not think you have enough equipment, or the equipment's not suitable, or both, or?
Well, for the amount of students I have, let's say you had badminton equipment. You would have to have a lot of it for 50 kids. So you would be playing badminton and a lot of them would be setting out. So again, the number of students in the classes is a big issue compared to the equipment.
So when you fill out, do you fill out a purchase order for that, or do you just kind of write it down?
Right, I fill out a purchase order and I tend to fill out the same things that I got the year before.
And you get them
Yeah,
every year for
yeah,
the most
I
part?
get them, but at the same time, I don't ask for a new universal gym or,
Right.
10 exercise bikes. It'd be a little more like 30 wiffle balls, 3 wiffle ball bats, bases, things like that.
So out of all the recommendations, planning that we've kind of went over, just a few little things, any other concerns or roadblocks or questions, or? I mean, they sound like relatively easy things to work on, and then.
Right, yeah. Just as far as the administration, it's nice to know what they think. If you are, they recognize if you are doing a good job or things to improve on. If they stay in contact and you feel open discussing things. Like you, if you were my boss, which probably someday you'll be, I feel like I could communicate with you really well, and that'd be a good situation.
Okay. Well, as an administrator, you should check in regularly with the teachers, make sure things are going well, and if these plans that you've kind of put in place are progressing. So I'll be doing that. Also, any questions or concerns, should never hesitate to ask, email, whatever.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
If you were administrator, do you want me coming in and, telling you these things, or should you be able to walk in and identify?
I think it's a little bit of both. I should be able to see things just by being around the building. As an administrator, you shouldn't be in your office all day long. You should be out wandering around. But also, I think sometimes administrators are busy with things,
Right.
so emails or even text messages or whatever.
Sometimes I feel that I'm bothering them, so I don't go in and communicate as much as I should.
Well, do not hesitate to ask questions or
Thank you.
state concerns.
That'd be great.
Your success is our success.
Wow, thank you.
Well, thank you for your time, Mr. Genseal. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you.